Welcome to the Women in Business radio show with Sian Murphy, connecting women in business around the globe.
Hello and welcome into the Women in Business radio show. It's like a trigger now. We go on air, I start laughing. The thing is, I don't know what I'm laughing at, so nobody else knows what I'm laughing at. So all that happens is I sound mad. But anyway, welcome to the Women in Business radio show. This is our weekly edition. Welcome to my co-host,
Michele Yianni Attard.
And also in the studio with us today, we have Lorraine Crookes, who is a repeat guest on our radio show. She is also a VIP exhibitor and a speaker at the Women in Business Big Show in 2024. And an incredibly interesting lady. She is a sexual empowerment liberator. She's the founder of the Business Success System, and she is the CEO of Orgasmic Life. And Lorraine is on here for a number of reasons, one of which is there aren't many people who surprise me with what they do and what they say and who they help. But Lorraine was one of those people. And when I first saw her and I saw her speak and met her, seeing what she did and the name of her business, Orgasmic Life, I made a judgment. I made a decision about what it was about. And to some extent, that's perfectly normal. And it turned out it was that, in fact. So she does help people with their sex lives and all of that sort of thing. But she actually does something totally and utterly different, which we will be hearing about on another show, later date. But just know that's where she's coming from. It's not everything is as it seems with Lorraine. And there is a real interesting business element that comes in with what she does. So we've got a few announcements, and then we are going to be doing our sort of monthly round the table, a little bit of a roundup of what we as business women found challenging, what was good, what worked, what didn't work, what we're reading, what we're not reading, what we're doing, all sorts, really. So
all good.
Yes, far too busy, clearly, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's all good. It's all good. So, I think I better do these today, hadn't I? Because actually they're all wrong and they're all in my head. Because normally Michele does them. But you can also listen to us if you would like to listen to us in your own time. We are on Audible. We're on iTunes, Spotify. Mm-hmm. We're also on Google Podcasts, Alexa, Spreaker, iHeart, and you can go and also pick up all of the episodes which are turned into podcasts and put onto the radio show website, which is the womeninbusinessradioshow.com. Announcements-wise, this is really opportune because we're talking about the Women in Big Show 2025, and both of the people in the studio with me today are speakers, and Michele is also a sponsor of the Women in Business Big Show for 2024, and he's coming back for 2025.
Of course.
No pressure.
No pressure.
We hadn't actually organised this before. I'm not just sort of like, you are there, aren't you? We have spoken.
Yeah, we have spoken. I've done it for 5 years. I can do it for 6, 100%.
Brilliant. So the next Women in Business Big Show, the one for 2025, is on the 7th of August. It is at Wilmington Academy, which, of course, I don't have written down. It's at Wilmington. I can't. Yeah. There's not a lot else to say. Well, it's near Dartford.
Absolutely.
Basically. So it's near Dartford. It's close to London. It's sort of fully accessible from everywhere in Kent, Essex, London. Yep. Got loads of parking. It's which is something that I'm already, I'm really sort of keen about that. It's one of the reasons I don't run events in the middle of London. We have quite a few people who exhibit and visit who have mobility issues, and it can be really difficult sometimes exhibiting in places where you have to cart everything for miles, or you can only get there on train. So it's all fully accessible, both inside and outside the building, and we have exhibitor space from £40. So if you would like to be involved, just sort of have a look at it's on the Women in Business Radio Show website, or find us on, we're all over the place, aren't we? Twitter, LinkedIn, you can find us. We'll post something out. So those are our announcements over. Mm-hmm. Shall we get round to what we're doing then, really? So what have you been up to this week? We'll start with what have you learnt this week? What have you been up to this week, this month?
Okay, so what have I learnt this week is to look after oneself. You're only one person. I'm saying that is because it's important that your well-being is, good in order for you to take on tasks within your business. So try to go bed at a reasonable time. I know it's not, possible always. Eat well. Do some meditation. Do some yoga. You've got to look after yourself.
Sometimes that's just so easier said than done, isn't it? Because our working day as businesswomen, our working day doesn't end. There isn't a clocking off time, is there? There
isn't, no.
And that's a blessing, but it can also be a bit of a curse.
100%.
And it can be quite easy, I find, to miss things that initially you don't really want to do. I don't want to get up and do yoga. I don't want to go swimming in the evening either. I'd quite like to just sit down with a glass of wine in front of the telly.
Well, even if you do that.
Doom scrolling on YouTube.
Exactly.
But we need to, I find if I don't get up, move, do some yoga, do some stretching, go swimming, that over a period of time, actually it all starts to go horribly wrong and I start to feel ill.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unwell. And it can be quite difficult when you've got loads and loads of stuff to do.
Yeah.
To actually almost force yourself to do this.
Yeah. You need to retrain yourself. You need to put your mind at ease so that you can learn more and your brain absorbs more information. Yeah. It needs a break. Can't keep going and going and going and going and thinking, I've got to get that done, because your brain will just go in overload and then it just won't work.
I think we need to run a show on meditation as well, because before, my impression of meditation before I actually started doing it was that there was a whole process you had to learn. You had to clear your mind, and my mind is never ever clear. It's always rattling on, and it's not like that at all. And I don't know where I got that idea from. I don't know. I probably just invented it somewhere through not knowing enough and not looking at it properly.
I think that's a common misconception, isn't it? You've got to take that significant amount of time out of your day and actually just sit in with a cup of tea. It's perfectly adequate. And actually, little and often is the best way.
It wasn't so much the time that was involved with it. It was the learning that I thought I had to do to be able to do it. And it was like, I'll do that tomorrow. And there really isn't actually anything that you do.
No.
Stop and be present.
Shall I tell you what I do? I'll tell you what I do.
Yeah, cool.
And this is what I teach other people. If you're sitting down, just focus on a particular part of your body, like how your bum feels on the seat or how your back feels on the back of the chair or your feet feel on the floor. And that's it. Just focus on that. It could be that initially you can only focus on that for 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Because our brain can only think of one thing at a time. We may think we've got lots and lots going on in our brains, and we might have, but you can only at one time think about one thing. So if you think about your bum on the chair just for 3 seconds, you are not thinking, you don't have all of the other thoughts rattling through your head. And that's it. That's all you actually need to do.
Absolutely.
Just a lot of it.
And then after a while, you think, right, and you can do a minute. The trick is actually remembering to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't like being disturbed. So if I have an alarm or something on my phone, my first reaction is to be seriously cross because it's actually pulled my thoughts away from something. So I think that's the hardest thing. It's not actually knowing how to meditate. Once you know, that's really, really, really easy. Mm-hmm. It's remembering how to build. It's how to build that habit, how to build it into your day, and when to make that happen.
Yeah,
is the challenging thing.
There's apps there as well that you could download, like Headspace.
Yeah, I have 2 apps that I use. One of them is called Insight Timer.
Yep.
And the other one is Gaia.
Okay.
I find both of those good, but once again, you have to do it. You have to, and if you don't like to use alerts, like I don't like notifications and alerts on my phone. I find them very disturbing. It's once again, it's getting into that routine, into that habit of logging on and doing it.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Of actually doing that. And once you understand, I think that it's not about making your head empty. It's just about listening to something else or thinking about something else.
Yeah.
And allowing those thoughts to happen, because I thought I wasn't doing it right because I was still having lots of thoughts. Well, that's okay. That's okay. So I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Can't possibly do this. It's not working, is it? I failed. I'm a failed meditator. Anyway, we've done what you've learnt this week, haven't we? What have you learnt this week?
Mine's very similar, actually. Mine's about managing my time, which is on a similar one, because as much as I like the idea of it being a 9-to-5 job that I have, it isn't. Sometimes we're doing things in the evening, sometimes I'm doing things at weekends. So mine's about, like you said, just scheduling that time for me when I've been busy at a weekend or, somehow being on Zoom 5 nights on the trot, which just is enough to make me want some more time.
Sorry, just have a bit of a vapour.
Just making sure I then, as my diary fills up, making sure I clock that time back, because otherwise you start to feel guilty. I think that's something I kind of picked up in the secondary education system, of feeling guilty if you weren't doing something when you thought you should be. That kind of
just to put some context, Lorraine was a teacher.
Yes,
before mine. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Before the other stuff. Yes, so Lorraine was a teacher, so she's talking about her experience actually working within the education system, not being a student in it.
No, so as a secondary school teacher, you kind of end up running on a 6-week timetable. You get used to only having so many breaks. You get used to feeling guilty if you're not doing your marking or doing something. And then suddenly when you're self-employed, you're kind of in charge of your own time, which is a really bizarre feeling.
It sounds really good, doesn't it? It sounds, hey, my time is my own. Yeah, I can do whatever I want, and it's taken me over 10 years to actually.
That's not helping.
Start. No, and but the reason that it took that, I think, is because I wasn't consciously making an effort with it. I didn't start out going, okay, one of the things I need to do here is to manage my time. It was like, I haven't got to be anywhere. I haven't got to do anything. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want to. And I can do all of these jobs. I can do everything because everything's mine to do. And there wasn't a shut-off point, and there wasn't any balance.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? The balance.
It is. It's that shut-off point.
And I think even if you've got, some weeks are going to be busier than others, some weeks you're going to have more things going on. But as you were saying, you're not productive if you're trying to do all of that anyway.
Absolutely.
So I just don't even let my diary get into that. And I had to really reflect on that this week and just go, well, hang on a minute. This is starting to look a bit chaotic. Where am I in all of this? And not even putting it thinking, that's all right, I'll manage that. I don't want to say no to anything. I don't want to, cram it all in. It'll all be good. It's not. Because it doesn't work like that.
I think there's... I may be wrong here. I normally am, let's be honest. But I think when we talk about, say, people being in business, I think there's a difference between setting up what I'm going to call quite a functional business, making a decision that you want to run a business and then sort of creating that, and actually perhaps doing what we've done, which is having something that you just love to do that has evolved with you and that you're really passionate and interested in because you love doing it.
Yeah.
But just because you love doing it doesn't mean that you have to, that it's actually sustainable to do it 24/7 because it's not.
And you're not if you're in a service-based business, you're not serving if you do that.
I know, but I love what I do. I love what I do, and so there is this sort of tendency to just carry on doing it.
But also, if you're in kind of the business of well-being and supporting people and helping people carry out their visions and their dreams, to not look after your own vision and your own dreams is counterproductive.
It is.
Practicing what you preach.
It is. On the other hand, I always feel it helps to have been in that situation that you know how it doesn't happen. Yeah. The best chemistry teacher I ever had, when I was at school, I was useless at chemistry. I was absolutely hopeless, and yet I needed to do it at O-level and A-level in order to go on and do what I wanted to do, which was sort of biological sciences. I was crap, utterly useless. And then the teacher changed. I got a different teacher, and her name was Mrs. Bryant, and she was lovely. And she was really, really good. And the reason she was really, really good, because I chatted to her about it, she said, it's because I never understood it.
Yeah.
She said, I know 100%. What you don't know. 100%. And so she'd been there. And so I think we have to go through this. I think we have to know what it's like to love what you're doing and to not want to stop and to keep going and going because you love it so much without building in the if you like, the protections that we need, because then you can help somebody else.
100%.
So, because some people find it quite easy. I know people who go, well, it's 5 o'clock, I've stopped. Yeah, that's how I look at them. I go, have you? Oh,
really? How does that work? Yeah.
Oh, well, and part of me is going, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my goodness. I must follow this person around and find out how they do this amazing thing. And another bit is me going, you do? Why would you do that? So, what have I learnt this week? Something that I have actually known for quite some time. It sounds really a bit odd, but managed to forget. And sort of relearned it again this week, which is that there is a big difference between a project and a task. And that if you don't understand the difference between the two, if you don't have that built into your, what should we call it, to-do list, it's all going to go horribly wrong. And that projects have ends. Projects start and projects end.
Yeah.
And that if you confuse tasks and projects, so the other thing is sometimes I would write down a task and actually it's a project. So when you open up that task on your whatever to-do list or your book or whatever it is, and it says it says something like redo branding for event. Wow. That's actually a hell of a lot of tasks put in together, and I think that's a really quite obvious. That's a really obvious thing. But there are others, and I wish if I did any preparation at all, I'd have a really good example. But there are others where they have sort of 2 or 3 steps in them, and we've still got them down as a task.
Yeah. And
when we open them up, our brain goes, "Oh no, that's too much," and it shuts down again.
Yeah, I get that.
And so it just stays there forever. And so I suppose what I've learned is or been reminded of, projects have starts and finishes. I think the thing I learnt is also that projects can be really small. Projects can consist of 2 or 3 tasks.
That's true.
They don't have to be massive.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learnt.
That's really cool.
Oh, that's a lot cooler than I thought it was, actually. Okay. Of course, what you do end up with is hundreds and hundreds of projects. But at least you can do them and you know where they fit and you can estimate how long each one is going to take and you can fit them, you can put them onto something like a Gantt chart.
But that is the key, isn't it? So even like doing a landing page or a project for social media or playing in Canva or like whatever you're doing, there's a task within a task within a task. And sometimes we forget that and we set ourselves a bit of time aside and that ends up just slowly slipping away into our day.
Sometimes it's not the... Sometimes it's not the time, it's the number of steps, and I think to some extent it depends on how your brain works. Mm-hmm. I think for some people that works. They have a task that maybe set up new social media program or something. I don't know. I was recently looking at moving from one to another.
Yeah.
And so I had, set up, I'm moving to something called Metrical. So set up Metrical. Well, actually, there it is on a task and it keeps getting left and left and left because it isn't a task, is it? It has to be evaluated. There are certain points I need to consider before I decide whether we're going to move me and people who do stuff for me, the team, over onto that. What needs to be looked at? What needs to be considered? Does it do this? Does it do that? How's this going to work? It's actually quite a big thing.
Yeah.
It may only take me an hour, but it's still, and I may have other tasks which will take me a lot longer than that. Print out the show magazines, for instance, would take an awful lot longer, but it's press a button.
On a printer.
Yeah. So it's not so much, the project, it's not so much the amount of time it's going to take. I think it's the number of steps. Mm-hmm. And that's the key to clearing them. So let's move over on to top tools.
Okay.
So have you got a tool that you're recommending? It better not be my one.
No, it's not going to be your one. Don't worry about that. It's got a similar name though.
So this is about what do you use in your business? It could be a tool such as it could be, software. It could be a pen and paper. It could be a technique. It doesn't really matter. What's your top tool?
Okay, so Miro.com.
Miro?
Yeah, Miro.
I've never heard of that.
Have you not? Okay.
I know.
So it's an AI-powered visual workspace, and it brings teams together. I know.
Oh my God! I can. Hang on. The rabbit hole's opened up. It's just by the side of my chair. I can leap in as soon as we come off air.
Okay. All right. Well, look, it's quite a useful tool. It's got journey mapping, diagramming, whiteboard. I love the whiteboard, and strategic and planning. It's the AI actually uses your brainstorming ideas to put things into context, and creates briefs, which is quite interesting. It's very AI interactive, and yeah, like I say, it's very interactive. Workboards work really well, especially if you're using workboards with the team. When you're coming up, I like the team to tell me, any sort of ideas, and I'm always looking for innovation ideas because it grows the team and you work together. That's why you're a team. So something like this gives us the information that we want, and it interacts with Google, interacts with Teams, and Microsoft, and other apps.
That solved the question of what am I going to do with tomorrow? I was
new project noted.
I was looking for something that was going to be sufficiently good for me to avoid doing the work I actually need to do. Thank you so much for that bright shiny object. What a gift!
I know.
That sounds wonderful.
What? You can start off with the unlimited for free. You can get up to 3 boards, and unlimited members can work with it. And then the starter package is $8 per month, and it gives you unlimited whiteboards. And then for the business, it's $16 per month per member, and it integrates with all different types of apps.
I'm going to go and have to have a look at that. I'm in the process of actually revising my business strategy at the moment. And I've got, at the moment, what I've got is like a series of magnetic boards and post-it notes.
Heaven.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're
Looking
there.
busy.
I haven't started using them yet, but they're there. They're waiting, and it's all delicious. However, I might have to go and have a look at that as well.
Yeah, have a look.
Yeah.
I quite like
that's
it.
myroad.com. Brilliant. Thank you. What's your top tool recommendation?
So I found something called SpeakerPipe, which is a app that you can download and have on your phone and record voice notes, or even better, get people around you to record amazing voice notes about you. And then it appears in your email, and you can download it and then create whatever you want to do with it, whether that's testimonial kind of review audios, but you can just send it out as a link to people. You could put it on your social media and get people to record.
And they can do audio, they don't have to do video?
No.
Wow.
So it's just
like
audio. Mm-hmm. It's just
I don't like recording video. So for me, I wouldn't ask anybody else to do that. So for me, but I have no problem with audio. I think that's really, really good. So I could send you a SpeakerPipe link.
Yep.
You could say, oh, I went to Sian's shop and I had a really nice cup of tea, and it was brilliant. Blah, blah, blah. And da-da-dum.
Then I get a little note in my inbox saying I've got it. I can download it and then do what I want with it. I know, it's exciting. And I take it to events and just plant my phone in front of someone's face and say, tell me what you think of that. Like if I've done a talk or if I've done something, you can just get some instant. Rather than like, can you just email me something? Can you send this? Yeah. Just get it there and then.
I like that. And I'm really, really bad at getting feedback. I get feedback about the events and it's all, I had a really nice time, or that was really, really good, or I met this person, and I'm terrible. I don't have a process of actually
just
collecting
getting them in that moment when they're buzzing and they're excited and it's fresh and it's new, rather than going, it was lovely.
Okay, so SpeakerPipe.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you very much. Is there a cost to it?
No, it's free.
Ooh.
Why is it free?
I don't know. There's probably a paid version at some, but
for
doing that,
for doing what you do,
for getting that, it's free.
Brilliant. SpeakerPipe. Those are really good tools. My one feels a bit dull, but it's something that I've been spending my last sort of probably week and a half on, and it's a tool called Motion. M for mother, Motion, and it's basically a project and task manager. And this is something I have had a lot of trouble with in the past. What with my strange brain. I tend to get lost with what I'm doing. I reorganise everything. I reorganise my projects and tasks, and then as soon as I've done that and learned how to use the tool as well, and then as soon as I've done that, it's all it doesn't work anymore. It's quite overwhelming, or I'm still trying to manage a team around it. I found this particularly useful for allocating tasks to the team, because you can do things in order. You can have what's called like a workflow.
Okay.
It seems really obvious, but it's a workflow. There are certain things, if you look at, say, processing this show, nobody can actually do the promotion of the show until after we've recorded the show and we've got that processed and we've got the pictures and everything else that goes with it. So there is a flow. There's stuff that can't happen before the other. And it helps you manage that. You can pop your team into it. It also has an AI scheduler in it.
Oh, that's good.
So it links up to a Google Calendar. So if I go, actually, I've got an emergency meeting today, so I can't do this stuff, it will reshuffle everything so that the stuff that you have to do in your task manager still happens.
Okay.
It may not happen on this day, but it will happen. And if you miss it, if you miss a hard deadline, you'll go, actually, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to happen. What do you want to do?
Okay. Does it integrate with other calendars as well?
It does. I think it integrates with all of the big type calendars, if you like. I think it integrates with Outlook and that sort of thing. I'm not entirely sure, but it put it like this: it's a well-connected tool.
That's good. And Calendly, you can still use Calendly.
Well,
or does it do it for you?
It does. It has. I haven't used this because I don't like people popping in. Oh my God, the same. I would say the one thing to it, and it seems so obvious, but it's something that I struggle with, is that you must be really accurate about what's in your calendar. You can create events in this as well, but I use a Google Calendar. Is that you have to be accurate about that. Mm-hmm. You have to be quite precise about what's in there, and not do what I do, which is go in and go, okay, do that as a and put it in as like a silly little event. You actually, if you want this thing to work around your scheduled meetings, you have to be quite accurate about those scheduled meetings and not just stuff something in for 4 hours when it's actually only going to take 10 minutes or the other way round. But once you do that, there is a link like Calendly where you can enable people to book for a particular period of time, and it will schedule it in where it is free. I don't actually like the idea of that because I'm still getting used to how to work with it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know the difference between a task and a project.
No, that's it. Until now,
main difficulty.
Yeah.
But you also have to be quite accurate with how you are recording your tasks. So if there is a hard deadline, you have to say it has to happen by this day. It sounds really, really complicated, but it's not. Okay. It's not. And if you're the sort of person who has a great long task list of stuff that has to happen on Thursday, but then somebody rings you up and, okay, now this has to happen on Thursday, and then suddenly all of your task list has just disappeared, where are you going to do this? This will move it all around.
That's
so
good.
It's quite dynamic.
That's very good.
So, but it can only work with what you tell it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like you've got to be very organised.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
Worrying, really.
It is. It is. It's a little scary, actually.
The fact you even suggested it as a tool, isn't it?
I know. I always, people think I'm organised, and actually I'm not. I'm very disorganised, but I'm always struggling for ways to organise myself, and because I don't want to be flapping around all over the place. And this is, I think this is. I've been using this for a couple of weeks now, and that is way beyond my normal.
That's really good.
This is where she come up with the concept that a task is not the same as a project.
Well, it wasn't. I knew that, and in fact, I've been teaching that for years.
Okay.
I just wasn't implementing it. But I tell you what it was specifically in this that made me do that, made me think about a particular thing, is that a project has a beginning and an end, whereas I had projects, so like the Women in Business radio show is a project. Well, actually it's not the show. Each show is a project.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was when I tried to go and put in a recurring task into a project, And it was like, can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that because a project has an end. A recurring task does not. And it was like,
I like it.
Sean's thinking like an app. That's scary.
That's it. I like it. I do.
Okay. And that's when I switched things around a little bit.
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
what it made me do was create individual shows and events that I run as discrete projects instead of rolling on. You know, there's this event and there's a monthly event and this is what we do for it. There's a monthly event and that event is a project. It starts then and it ends then. Mm-hmm. And that's actually quite significant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, motion. There we go. And if you wait, if you wait until I've got the task done, there'll be an affiliate link for that. So, top challenges. What's been your top challenge? Should we say this month? Or the last month? What's been your top challenge?
It's quite similar to what Lorraine was saying earlier about time management, jobs out of your control. So you've got, like you say, motion would be ideal and you could move that along. But if someone comes and rings you up and says, oh, Michele, I'll give you an example. I've just received a letter to say that I've got a VAT inspection. So, for instance, you know, it would be a case of, right, okay, so I'll put that to one side. This is quite urgent because there's a deadline to get information to HMRC, just as an example. So I find it quite challenging that I'm doing certain things, like you say, tasks, or there might be a project involved, but then, you know, things change because you don't know what's going to come through the phone or come through the email. And then things can change. Yeah. So that I found my challenge this week is that I've been doing extra... Priorities, that's the word. It's the extra time and working later because of time management.
Okay. So it's unexpected almost, stuff coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
What can you do about that? Got motion, I can look into motion.
Well, actually, yes. That is potentially something that will happen. It is. You could then put that new job that has to be done now in there. And what it would do is reorganise stuff for you and highlight the stuff that you're missing. Exactly. I found that really, really useful.
That's good.
Really useful. Whereas normally it will have just, you know, I've got a to-do list for, say, Tuesday. Something happens on Tuesday that stops me doing that. And all of those things that had to be done have just like fallen off the edge of the table. Yeah. Tuesday's gone now.
I know.
Bye. Sometimes that's okay. Because sometimes the tasks that we assign to ourselves actually really don't need to be done.
Yeah. But sometimes you can also have to get other members of your team to stop what they're doing in order for us to do what we need to do. Yes. So it's time manage them too.
And that this tool actually enables you to do this because if you allocate, because you can set all of your working hours in there and you allocate something to somebody, it will flag up if they can't do it.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was a case of, I'll get Trish to do that. And Trish has no time.
Yeah.
She has no time. She's got no time left in her working day to actually do that. And this will go, I can't fit this into her schedule for you.
Okay.
That is so cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Whereas before it'd have to be, Trish, have you managed to do that? Oh no, well, what do you want me to do? I've got this, that and the other to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know that she hasn't done it.
Yeah, the priorities.
Yeah.
So maybe, can you colour code things priority? I can't get the word out, priorities.
Yes, you can.
That's good.
You can. So you can have it ASAP when it will do it ASAP. So it's basically going to override everything else. Mm-hmm. And you can have high, medium, low.
Okay.
Or it doesn't have any priority at all. It's just something that you want done at some point.
That can be very, very useful.
It sounds like a task to do a task, isn't it? It's like, how long? It's going to take me longer to put it in and schedule it than it is to actually do it.
No. That brings us down onto the, what's his name, the getting things done. Is it David Allen, where he says, if it's going to take you less than 2 minutes, do it.
Just do it. Just get on.
Absolutely.
And I think where I find it useful is that sometimes there's a 2-minute task that if I allocate it to somebody else, will take 2 minutes. So it's a 2-minute task. If I do it, it's like 3 hours.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So it is worth scheduling it, but you sort of have to know what you're good at. You have to know what your team does, and it just helps you get all of that into order. It's getting it into order, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, true. Knowing what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your top challenge this month?
Mine has been getting out of my own way. I've got a programme I'm about to launch, and is it good enough? That kicking back in of, is it going to be enough? Not necessarily I'm going to want to pay for it, because I believe it is. It's got, it's serving, and it's definitely value for money. But just, is it all there? Is it the videos good enough? Is the content good? Is it enough? Is it going to serve people in the way that I think they are looking to be served? And just all those little self-doubts cropping in about launching it. But it's next week, it's being launched, so I seem to have got over that. I put it down as a task.
Launch
and decide,
that's more of a target, though, isn't it?
Well, it's the end of a project, isn't it, and the start of a new one.
Yeah.
So it's the end of the project of get a project and getting it finished. Although I've not recorded all of it. I've done that thing though they say.
Yeah, you only need to do the first few, don't you?
And I've got clients waiting, so I need to get out of my own way, get it launched. But yeah, just those little niggles of, does it look good enough? Is the tech looking good? Have I got all the buttons linked to the right buttons? Is the product going to send the right login details and all the rest of it? So I spent some time yesterday, got someone to kind of check it for me, because you can't see the wood for the tree sometimes.
You cannot check it
so
yourself.
many times I don't even know what I've checked and what I haven't. So I've got.
Also, we do. If you have, I may get another computer for checking stuff, because when it's you and you're logged in and you have stuff and all of this sort of thing, and it's your platforms, things tend to go a lot smoother for you than they do for somebody where it isn't. All the back ends and the logins and everything else aren't in their browsers and cached.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It can be a very different experience.
Dear friends, I just go through this for me, because it's it's a membership thing on a platform and blah blah blah, and it's just that tech stuff that you just find yourself checking the check and the double checking the check. So she's done that, so that's all good to go. A couple of more little bits to add, and then we're all good to go next week. So it's just getting out your own way, because you just, I just find myself going around in circles, and actually it's amazing. So I just need to get it out there.
Yes,
you do.
Are you going to be mentioning it later? Would you like to mention it now?
I didn't want to assume.
Go on.
So it's the business success system. So it's the program for business professionals and entrepreneurs to focus more time in their bedroom as a fuel for their business growth. So it focuses on the bedroom aspect of people's lives to fuel. You did ask.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm laughing because I'm just thinking of me actually working from bed.
Oh, well, perfect location.
Which I do quite often. I don't think that's what it's about, though, is it? It's not about me being in my pyjamas.
There's 5 modules, and each module just covers an area about relationships. But actually, our business is a relationship, so it's about how we can enhance the serotonin and the dopamine and be a bit more happier, whether it's a relationship with ourselves or with someone else, and how we can just really tap into that energy. Bear in mind, generally it creates a slightly happier person. If you're getting it right. And then that fuels the if you're just sitting in your bed with your own laptop, that may not work, Sean, to be fair.
That is a lot.
Maybe where you're going wrong, love.
Could be. What was your first clue?
Note to self, that's not a task.
That's not a task.
So, yeah, it's about us. It's about tapping into pleasure, whatever that looks like for us, and just realising, like we were talking about earlier, taking that time back for ourselves.
Yes, sadly, sat up in bed with my cup of tea and a bit of toast on my laptop is.
Yeah, time out, space, headspace.
Lovely time.
Yeah, there could be a lot in that, to be fair. Maybe one of the child stuff.
Explains a lot. Right, so how do people access this? How do they find it?
So they can find it by going on to my website, which is www.orgasmiclife.me, or reach out to me on social media via LinkedIn or on Facebook, and I can send them the link, or they can book a chat and we can have a chat about whether it's a good fit for them and what they're looking for to refine that balance really in life, and also to use that energy as a tool for business growth, because it's a very similar skill set.
That's interesting.
Okay, so it's Lorraine Crookes on Facebook.
Yep.
Lorraine Crookes, that's CROOKES. Lorraine Crookes on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Orgasmic Life. Perfect. Thank you. Launching next week. I suggest if you're sat up in bed with your, with your cup of tea and your woolly blanket.
That's it, exactly, with your laptop.
And your laptop.
You are my ideal client.
Playing with your apps.
I would. It's fundamentally.
Might want to go and
That's not the buttons we need to be tapping.
That's it.
go and have a little bit of a look. Okay. My top challenge this month, moving on from everything that's gone on before, actually I'm going to very, very quickly, it has actually been building team flows.
Ooh.
Which is sort of how I found motion, which is how I've been implementing it, which is how I'm able to talk about it. It was that sort of, there's something that needs doing, it's in the future, it needs to be allocated, but it doesn't have to be done now, and it can't be done until this is done, but I need to get it off my plate and onto somebody else's to-do list, and actually making that happen in a sensible way. Which doesn't involve me sending a message going, can you do this, but you can't do it until then. And then coming back, I can't do that because you haven't sent this, or this hasn't come through, or, you know, and it sort of, it just sorts that out. It gets everybody working together, but without all of the conversations that need to go backwards and forwards with, have you sent that, and have you done this? I can't do this because he hasn't done that.
Yeah.
And it was off my plate. And that, I think, as a business owner, that was what really mattered.
Okay.
It's off. I know whether you're doing it or not because I can see. I know if you don't have time because I can see. So that, it was actually building team flows.
Nice.
Different to team tasks.
Very good.
So what are we reading or listening to at the moment? What about you, Michele?
I'm listening to, do you know Neville Goddard? No? Okay. Podcasts about
I think I do, but no.
Self-believing and imagining.
Say that again?
Self-believing and imagining podcasts. I found I just came up, was on YouTube, came across them thinking I'd like to do a little bit of, I don't know what I was going to do really, mediation or something like that. I heard of his name before. I think it was on Facebook. Someone had brought him up. And I listened to him, and I like his podcasts about self-believing, imagining, and it really gets you going for the day, or you can listen to it in the evening.
Okay.
And it's, very interesting.
We will go and find that.
Yeah.
What did you like about it? What was interesting?
Apart from his voice, it's quite soothing.
It always comes back to that, doesn't it? So what about the content? Was there something about the content?
Yeah. Some of the stuff is about, manifesting, believing in yourself, and, looking at things at a different perspective.
Ah, okay.
And then saying, thinking about what you really, really want when you look at, what do you want? What do you want? I think that's the question people have got to ask themselves. Why did you get into business in the first place? What do you want out of life?
It can sometimes get a bit lost,
exactly.
Can't it?
It can. So this is actually making you retrain your thought process or your conscience into thinking, well, actually, why did I do this in the first place? And what's my end achievement? And how can I get there?
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
he's good.
We'll have to go and find him.
Yeah.
There you go, Neville. You got a shout out. What about you? What are you reading or listening to at the moment?
So I've actually been listening to my own podcast, Business Success. SEX. Success. Mainly because I just want to make sure what the content sounds like, because it's a new podcast, and just to kind of get a vibe for how it's coming across. But also, I'm in the process of writing a book as well, so it's all about me. I'm not actually...
Everything's all about you. But no, I didn't mean you. Like, there's Lorraine again. Everything's all about her.
About me. It's all about me. So I'm not reading at the moment. And to be honest, a lot of the books that I have been reading have been just to support, well, as we all do, personal growth. But at the moment, just focusing on getting the podcast out there and getting my book out there so that I can give other people permission to play in the playground of pleasure.
Oh, that's very catchy.
I know. That wasn't the title of the book, but it could be now.
I think it should be. Play in the playground of pleasure.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It's an autobiography, so it might need a bit more of a edgy title than that, to be fair. Although it could work.
I think it would work. I'd definitely
Permission
read
to play in the playground. It's a very long title, isn't it? Permission to play, maybe. Pleasure playground? I don't know.
No.
We'll worry about that another day.
That sounds a bit odd. Pleasure playground.
Okay. Permission to play.
I quite like that.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
We won't be doing that now.
No,
although we're not going to go down that. Suddenly off we go. 3 hours and we're still discussing.
I'll make a note on my task sheet.
Exactly.
I started to wish I hadn't told you that now. Okay, what am I reading or listening to at the moment? Well, I am quite dull. I'm listening to, there's a podcast, which is also a book. So these guys have done a book and they've also done a podcast, and it's called Algorithms at Work. Told you.
I'll stick with mine, thanks.
I told you. Once again, explains quite a lot.
Yeah.
Algorithms at Work by Brian Christian and Tom Griffiths. Now, it's quite difficult to explain what it's about.
Algorithms?
It is about algorithms. Algorithms at work. You just have to listen to it, really. I think this is going to deteriorate down into a fit of the giggles. It's not a good sound.
Okay.
It's just about applying, I suppose, statistics, algorithms, that sort of thing to some of the things that we're doing on an everyday basis, like decision making, hiring staff, and this sort of thing. Just an example, and I don't have the answer, but I'm not going to. Just an example of the sorts of ways that it can be applied is if you are employing somebody, there, and you get all of the CVs in, you get all of this stuff in, and you interview all of these people. There is a point at which there is no point in carrying on because you will have. The chances are you have seen the best person in there. So at what point do you stop? So basically it's that sort of thing, and that's how you might apply it in a business context or a life context. Is there is a point beyond which it is not worth going.
Okay.
So that's it.
That's very good.
And if you are a bit of a robot like me, it's quite soothing. It is. It just brings a sort of stability.
Grounding. Sounds very grounding.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it is, and they're also that it's interesting. You can think of it in the context of your everyday life as well. It's quite interesting.
Well, that sounds good.
So,
for sure.
Top wins. So, Michele, what is your top win this we'll say this month? What's your top win this month?
Okay, so you just talked about algorithms and using for hiring staff. I've just hired 2 apprentices to help with work overflow, which is great. And basically, the reason why I say it's 2 wins, it's not easy finding the right apprenticeships for your team.
No.
So that's it. So we were lucky enough to find these 2 apprentices, and they came by recommendation, which is always good. So if you talk to people and say you want to look for an apprentice, someone will reach out to you and say, hey, are you still looking for an apprentice? And that's what happened. And they've both started and they're very good so far.
Brilliant.
All good.
Brilliant.
And that to me
it's not
easy because they're taking the information in, because sometimes it's not easy to even tell them what the flow of your company is and how we work. And they've both said, oh, could we do, I've got an idea, Michele, could we do this? And that to me, innovation, I love it, and that sort of thing.
And it's really good when you bring in people who haven't been in the industry.
Exactly.
So they don't have experience. They see things that we just don't see.
Absolutely.
That we've never come across before. They just have that different perspective, don't they? And sometimes you look at it again, you think it's blindingly obvious. Why would we do it like that?
Yeah. It's because we're sometimes too into our business and not looking blinkered that way. although no one can see me saying blinkered that way.
So there's a lot of gesticulating going on, which of course
but open to ideas. And like you say, these are young apprenticeship. They're under 18, but they come up with so many ideas that they're learning through social media, through, impact and learning stuff, that I've never even thought of. So I would say they're my 2 wins for the week.
Good win for you. What's your top win this month?
So this month, I would say probably launching the public speaking that I'm doing. So I'm training to be a public speaker, and I've actually kind of had quite a few different events over the last month, and been in a couple of competitions. Which the competitions I was really chuffed and excited, and wasn't overly nervous. It's the time to practice. It's that time thing again of getting the time to make sure you're kind of the best you can be for the day that you turn up. So, yeah, speaking competitions and more speaking events has been my big win this month, because it's just getting me out there and getting my message out there.
So it's not necessarily any particular results or wins, it's just getting out there
just getting
and
out
doing
there,
it.
yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brilliant. Well done. Well done. I have had a win this month, which is actually the realisation that my annual events, the bigger events, the Women in Business Big Show, are not annual events. They're not discrete events. That one rolls into another. That it's actually, I was going to say movement, and that sounds a little bit too grand, but it's an evolving community. That it isn't, we've done that and that's finished, bye, and then we have another one. And so this year we're actually doing it sort of very differently, where we have sort of after promotions, if you like, talking about people, event, sort of, the videos and all of that sort of thing, going out afterwards and rolling into the 2025 event. Nice. And there's one bit of me that's going, how could you not have seen this before? And there's another bit of me that knows sort of that you have to let things evolve. Yeah. That it started off, it was only supposed to be a small little event. Let's give that a go. And that it's grown and it's evolved, and it's now that it's right to, it's sort of become obvious in a way that is now what's happening. And so it's not projects with beginning and ends.
No, that's definitely not one, is it? That's 100%. Yeah. It's almost like that's the pivotal event that everyone gets together physically. Yeah. But actually it's the community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it, the community.
So having an event.
It is, and it's sort of consolidating why I set it up in the first place, which was to bring together everybody. It was to bring together, accountants and women like yourself, Michele, who are running quite large organisations, with women who perhaps didn't have a profession. So like accountancy, HR, that sort of thing is a profession. You go and you take exams, don't you? Mm-hmm. With creative people who may not have gone down that route, who are creating jewellery, who are creating, who may be holistic therapists together, because we all need that. We all need each other, don't we? Everybody needs something from each other.
Absolutely.
That was why I set it up. And so it's just occurred to me, this is about continuing on with that. So my challenge now is actually building that into a consolidated community. And that's not as easy as it sounds.
No.
You have to help and facilitate conversation. Yeah. Which is not that easy. It's about finding that to happen. And it all started actually with a magazine.
Oh, yeah. I love that magazine.
I decided to do a little magazine about 5 days before the event. And I didn't really think much of it. I thought, I'll give that a go. It's like a little programme. And people have got it and people are reading it. And people said, can I put that in? Or can you do an article on? And that sort of got me going.
Okay.
So
I love that magazine. It's got a lot of information in it.
It's just about realising, I think, where your projects start and finish. We're onto that projects thing again. Mm-hmm. And it's not events, it's something different. It's something you might want to get the business model canvas out onto.
Absolutely.
Business model canvas, which is a strategizer tool, which is not something we can talk about here, but you can go and Google it. There's lots of information around. But it's about bringing it up, I think, from an event into actually a business model canvas and actually reviewing what the business model is, because it's not an event.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. It's already there, but just having that kind of moment of realising and the expansion that it could have.
Yes. It is, and I think that's perhaps something else I've learnt this week is that you can do something that seems really, really silly, like that little magazine.
Yeah.
I have them for my smaller events as well, and suddenly that is a pivot.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's being run off on a home, on an office printer, but it's a pivot, and I think it's going into what I'd call professional publishing.
Yep, definitely.
I know. And that little thing, that little thing, actually switched everything round. That tiny little thing.
That's where it's trust in yourself, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like just going with a gut instinct or going with a heart.
Yeah, I don't know what made me think of it.
It sits on my desk. It's 100% valuable.
Absolutely.
An asset to what you do.
Yeah.
But it was such a little. At the time, it seemed like such a little thing, which is actually a massive, massive thing.
Yeah. Because you're building a community with this magazine.
Yeah, and I think that is a win, but also a learning thing is that you can do something really, really small, and you need to listen to what other people are doing with the stuff that you've done that is really small.
Yeah. Talking about model canvas, myro.com, which I mentioned before, actually does that. Oh, sorry. Just thought I'd put that in there.
Done it, haven't you? Does it really?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry. It actually calls it intellectual.
Be still, my beating heart.
I'm sorry.
The next time you do it, you need to put the link in for your speaker pipe so you can get your reviews.
You've got all these musics now.
Come on.
All from my bed.
Exactly. Listening to your podcast.
Right, okay. So, we haven't got too much longer. We can carry on for a few more minutes, but let's look at advice moving through into sort of towards the end of 2024, moving into 2025. What's your advice for small businesses?
It's time to clean up those tasks you don't like doing. Because who wants to go into a new year with the baggage of the tasks?
Yeah, I just tend to dump it all.
I know, but
that's finished.
We've got one quarter left now, so we should be tidying up those tasks to go into 2025. And that's what my tip would be.
That's really good. I like that. Lorraine, advice businesses moving forward.
I think know your numbers. It's something I've not always been very good at, but I think knowing your numbers as you move in and what is it you want, where do you want to go, what are you going to invest in your business, so what's coming out and what's coming in, and just know that, because it's something I've done, but I think I probably need to. I was going to break it down into smaller tasks again. I just feel like I'm just having a pop now. But I think it is breaking it down. I want to be a lot more specific with how I manage the expansion of my business, where I put my money, how I invest money into the business, and how I want the business to grow and serve clients at the same time, because that's what it's about, that energy exchange. Absolutely. The more clients I can reach and serve, the more I can invest in growing the business and serving even more.
Definitely.
I like that. Know your numbers and get specific.
Yeah. Exactly. Maybe have a 6-month review with your accountant.
100%.
Mine is to embrace AI and automation.
Brilliant.
So I write as well, and some of the stuff that I see a lot about in the writing community, in the creative community, is a huge fear around AI of it's going to take my job. It's going to take, I'm an artist and now it's creating images. I'm a writer and now it's writing for me. Actually, it can't do that. It can never take away from you putting pen to paper. AI may be able to write about a particular tool, but it's not going to be able to write about my experience with it. So that's one aspect of it, but also embracing it as part of your business and using some of the... I now use Chat GPT-4, and I also have a paid thing for a tool called Jasper, where instead of going on to Google and finding out how to do something or what's working or what isn't working, I actually use that because the information is up to date and it pulls in so many different references for you. Whereas when you type something into Google, what you tend to see is the ones that are on the first page, which have been delivered by adverts or some other sort of algorithm. Whereas I find this gives me lots of ideas. So, for instance, I used it the other day. We want a subscription model for our WordPress management business. And I thought, well, okay, I can sit and come up with this. But I just thought, let's give it a go. And I went, and you have to word it properly. There is a skill in here.
Yeah.
I have to say that, don't I? But there is a skill in here. It's no good going on and just thinking you could type in a pile of old rubbish and you're going to get out what you want. But I basically just said, show examples. This is what we do. This is what we charge at the moment. This is what we're doing. This is what we want to deliver. This is what. Is there a subscription model you can recommend? And there was. And I can't just sort of turn it around and shove it out. But I tell you what, it's excellent, really excellent. And there are so many questions that you can ask it.
That's fascinating.
I get it to interrogate PDFs for me. I get it to write tables of contents. Just basically, this is almost like admin and research.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And just to start using those.
Yeah.
Just to go in there and be patient. Don't expect that you can just type in something. You have to learn how to use them. And you have to train them, if you like. Okay. And you have to think about what you're doing and what you want out of it and the information that you need to give it. But, oh, boy, it brings you in so much current references that I'm going to say you can absolutely rely on them. It's just very different to typing something into Google and then getting a web page that is somebody's opinion. And then having, well, is that still current? I think that's the one thing. Is this still relevant? Or is this, oh, no, hang on a minute, this was 2021. Or it's, oh, no, hang on, it's 2022. That tool doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Okay.
And the automation side of things.
Like it.
Just start using it and build it right and trust it.
Love it.
Okay. I think we're done, aren't we?
We are.
Is there anything else we need to say for moving forward into 2025? Is there anything else we need to bring in? Anybody else got anything, any gems they'd like to do, say?
No.
It's not far away, though, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
3 months.
Just
ticking. Is it ticking?
It's 3 months.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing as well. There's a lot happens for business around about the Christmas, the seasonal period, New Year. For some people, it's a really good period of time. For others, it's a really quiet time.
Yeah.
And really, you should be planning for that now and getting ready for it. It could be a marketing campaign, or it could be about how you're going to get over a quiet period, or how you're going to connect with your customers over that period of time, how you're going to keep your business going or not going, whatever it is that you want to do. Now
Absolutely.
is really the time to be thinking about it. Okay, well, we're gonna go now. So thank you so much, Michele.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and also Lorraine Crookes.
Thank you
for being my lovely co-host and guest today. And we will be back very, very shortly with more of the Women in Business radio show.
Amazing.
Tune in next week to the Women in Business radio show for more stories, ideas, and inspiration to help you grow your business.